So here's our goal for this little tutorial. I'm going to we've got a foreground, a background, and I added some text here. Just to make sure your windows are the same as mine. I think Navigator might not always come up by default, for example. If you go to Window and use a drop-down, just make sure it's checked off and it should pop up here. So you have that. That's just going to help us zoom in and zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to make a new file. I'm just going to use the default settings for now. So here is just blank file. The background layer is white. We're going to put everything on top of it. So for now, we can just leave that as is. I'm going to pop the Photoshop window out for a moment so I can get to my source files, and they're going to be available to download on my website. So I'm going to bring in my foreground because I'm going to do the most work to this. So I'm going to start with that. Make that big again. All right, so for now I'm going to be able to resize it. So I can resize it. If I don't hold down Shift, I can change the aspect ratio. As much as I'd like to be able to look exceptionally skinny, I'm going to hold down Shift, and that's going to keep it proportioned. I don't need to make it that much smaller, but I want to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move it over here for now. I can hit Enter. So this works for size. I can move the location later. So I've got that layer selected because it's gray here. Now this little icon right here means it's a smart object. And that's actually a problem for me right now because I need to be able to select and delete stuff. So if I use the rectangular select tool, for example, select it and hit the delete key on the keyboard, I can't do it. It won't let me do it. So what I have to do is rasterize it. I right clicked, I'm going to rasterize a layer. So now this is something, if I have the same selection on the same layer, hit the delete key, that's going to go away. Now at any time to get rid of these dancing ants, if I hit Control and then D for deselect, it'll just get rid of that. So I want to just kind of pop me out by myself. I'm going to use the quick select tool. It's the fourth one down. If it doesn't show up for you automatically, just right click. The two options there are magic wand and quick select. So I'm going to use a quick select. And this is a fairly intelligent tool. It will, for the most part, do a pretty good job at selecting what you want if you know how to move it around. So I'm just trying to get myself isolated, but as you can see, I'm having a little bit of a problem. So by default, it's set to the add function. So it's going to add stuff in. If I hold down Alt while I'm clicking, it's changing to the subtract sign. So here it accidentally got my shirt, probably because I clicked wrong. If I click here, I can deselect things like my shirt, my arm. For some reason, it's doing something funky there. Deselect that. Now if I let go, it goes back to the plus sign. That's the default. Click that. Really likes my watch. Use the minus sign. That looks pretty good. Now if I don't get it all in one go, I can always go back in and do it. So it's trying to make sense of what I'm selecting. Let me just start with that. Hit the delete key. Okay, that got weird. Let's go back in here. This may take a couple minutes, especially if you're not super lucky with how this is determining your selections. And I accidentally went over my shirt again. Okay, so I did the best I could with the quick select tool. I've got some of these sort of phantom lines here. For that I'm going to use the eraser. So if I use the erase tool, now that's really small. To make the eraser bigger, up at the top here I can choose my brush size. So I wanted something a little bit more sizable because I don't have to get that close to me. If I was doing more detailed work, I'd make this smaller and zoom in a lot more. This is a little sloppy, but for now this will work. For this project at least. Okay. So now I've isolated me by myself. With that layer selected in the move tool, I can go around and put me in the position where I want to go. Now I want to put the background behind me. So same thing as I did before to get that in there. I can grab the background layer and drop it in. Now for this layer, we want it to fill the whole screen here. We could change the size of the project to match that photo, but I'm actually just going to stretch this pretty big. And I'm just going to make it so it can fill the screen. I can change where this is. Anything that's not in the picture is just not going to show. So I'll put that maybe like there. Hit enter. I can't see what's behind me now though, or what's behind it now though. So it's as if there was an eye looking for the top straight down. To see this layer, I have to move it up, put it on top. So there's me and the dragon thing. Now what I wanted to do was change the text right there. So to get that color as close as I can to it, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. That's going to let me select. So what's showing me is what was previously selected and then the new color. So I'm going to pick kind of a yellow, and I'll use that with the paint tool and just kind of paint over that. Again, this is kind of a quick project to just get you into Photoshop doing something. Alright, so there we go. Now if I hit T on the keyboard, it'll change it right to the text tool, and I can type. Problem is, the last color I selected was the same yellow, so I'll change that text color. Automatically added a text layer. Up here, I can change the text color. I changed it to black, so it'll hopefully show up a little bit better. Help, exclamation point. If I click on the layer once, and then go to the move tool, it'll let me move this around. If I double click on the T, this will let me change things like the font size, the font color, some of the alignment and font type stuff too. But for now, I'm going to leave it. Alright, so here's what we're going to call done for this project. So at this point, to save it, I'm going to go File, Export. Let's export as. I want this saved as a JPEG, so it's not going to be the highest quality. You can leave the rest for now. When we get into actual like printing of stuff and we're worried about the size, we can worry about that. But for now, save as JPEG, export all. Give it a name that's going to make sense. So Levine, let's say first Photoshop. Use your name if you're going to, and then just save it where you need to. I'd save it to your Z drive. Save it and then upload it to Canvas, and then you are all set. All right, thank you.